President Obama meets with congressional leaders on Friday to discuss the upcoming fiscal cliff. As we showed you earlier, several Republicans in Congress say there is momentum to make a deal before the end of the year.
Grover Norquist, founder of Americans for Tax Reform, has led the conservative push against any tax increase. He rejects the idea that voters gave the president a mandate on Election Day. Grover Norquist joins us now. Welcome.
Welcome. Good to be with you.
Listening to people like Bill Kristol, it seems, and the Speaker of the House, John Boehner, it seems that they are prepared and think that you and the Republican Party ought to be prepared to accept some action on the revenue side.
Well, what Speaker Boehner said before the election was we're not raising marginal tax rates. What he said in his presentation was we're not raising marginal tax rates. He is in favor of more revenue from economic growth. I certainly agree with him on that. If we had a recovery, the strength of Reagan's recovery today...
I don't think he's limiting it to growth, is he? I mean, hasn't he suggested that there are other ways in terms of looking at tax reform that will produce more revenue other than simply the economic growth?
Well, in his presentation, he's always referred to revenues coming from growth that tax reform can give you. I know the Democrats would like to see tax increases on the American people. The position that pro-growth advocates have, taxpayer advocates have, is let's have more people working. That requires lower marginal tax rates, not higher marginal tax rates. What Obama wants to do is exactly what would most damage job creation in America, which is why 2 years ago, he didn't do it.
Seems like to me you're not changing your attitude one bit.
Well, we just had an election, and the House of Representatives was elected committed to keeping taxes low. The president was committed, elected on the basis that he was not Romney and that Romney was a poopy head, and you should vote against Romney. And he won by 2 points. But he didn't make the case that we should have higher taxes and higher spending. He kind of sounded like the opposite.
Well, I'm not sure that's what the president called Mitt Romney, Grover. That's not the debate that was had. In fact, the debate that was had, I mean, I listened closely to it. President Obama's case, he said very clearly throughout the debate that the wealthiest Americans should pay more. And he won 8 of the 9 battleground states. And Republicans failed to reclaim the White House or the Senate. What about the exit polls that show a broad support for raising taxes on the wealthiest Americans? Are you wrong?
Well, 2 things. There are also polls that say 63% of people are against raising taxes, quote unquote, to pay down the debt. 75%
so why didn't people
of people
vote Obama out of office?
Well, again, you saw those ads that suggested Romney gave people cancer in Ohio for months and months unanswered. You can trash an individual and get them to vote against him. Again, where we had an election, there are 30 Republican governors, okay? And they're running campaigns against raising taxes and in favor of, frankly, phasing out the income tax in North Carolina and Kansas and Oklahoma. Take a look at the states.
Those are state issues. I mean, Speaker Boehner said
where
clearly,
the issues are clear.
We're willing to accept new revenue under the right conditions. Would you accept new revenue? And would members that have signed your no tax pledge be allowed to accept new revenue?
Well, of course, the pledge is to the American people, not to me. So they don't need my permission to vote anyway. They made a commitment to the people in their states. And you can get more revenue through economic growth. If you grow at 4% a year instead of 2% a year, the government will get $5 trillion in additional revenue. I'd rather do growth than raise taxes, which slows the economy and damages things. Obama's not interested in taxing the rich. He admits there's no money there. He runs a $6.7 trillion debt, assuming he raises taxes on high-income people. His goal, as you saw after the election, is to raise energy taxes on the middle class, not something he mentioned during the campaign.
We're looking at a fiscal crisis here, and we're looking at a fiscal cliff. And most people are saying this is serious, and we got to have serious negotiations, and everything has to be on the table. But you seem to be resisting that. What do you think happens if the fiscal cliff happens as a reality, and this economy goes over the cliff?
Well, 2 things. The fiscal cliff is a tax increase of $500 billion. We had exactly the same scenario 2 years ago that we had today. Obama huffed and puffed and threatened to let us go off the fiscal cliff. And at the end of the day, cooler heads prevailed, and all of the tax cuts were continued for 2 years. In 2011, Obama said the world would end and we should pass around smelling salts because he wanted to raise the debt ceiling. We got a debt ceiling agreement. It was a great compromise. We cut spending. We didn't raise taxes. We didn't cut spending as much as the Republicans wanted. The Ryan plan would have reduced Obama's overspending by $6 trillion. We only got $2.5 trillion in restraint. That's a compromise. It's not as much as the Republicans wanted. The Republicans have already compromised.
Okay. Grover, thank you. We are out of time, but we appreciate you being here.